There was a small town in Texas called Dawson Valley. The town had always been quiet, but one night the sky broke its silence. People saw that the clouds were turning red, like drops of blood floating in the sky. At first, everyone thought that maybe the sunset light was casting a strange reflection on the clouds. But when the first drop fell, a red spot appeared on the ground. A woman screamed in fear. "This is blood." The police, scientists, everyone was shocked. This had never happened in any part of Texas. But this red rain fell for 3 hours in a row. Blood-like spots froze on every roof, every street, every window, even the church cross. The next morning, another terrible news spread in the town. The graves in the cemetery were open. There had been no theft, no bones or coffins left. Only the soil was dug up, and the graves were empty. Sharon, a local journalist, arrived at the cemetery with her camera. She took pictures of the graves. The soil seemed to have burst from the inside. No hand or tool, just something pushing from below. Someone had opened the door from inside the tomb. She thought to herself. That night, Sharon began editing the footage. There was something strange in the pictures taken during the rain. Every time a raindrop hit the camera, a blurry human figure would appear in the background, as if a face was screaming. Sharon paused the frame. The facial features were recognizable. It was the face of her late father. Her heart began to beat faster. She turned off the screen, but a storm of questions filled her heart. The next morning, she went back to the cemetery. There was an old gardener sitting there, who had been taking care of the graves for years. "Did you see anything last night?" Sharon asked. The old man raised his head. There was horror in his eyes. All the graves started to open on their own. "I saw that the ground was shaking, as if someone was trying to come out from below. Then what happened? I ran, but I heard a voice as if someone had called my name. Suddenly, a notification came on Sharon's phone. Unknown sender. Don't look for them." She read the message, and a strange fear crept into her heart. It rained again at night, but this time smoke began to rise from the ground, along with the rain, as if the soil was burning. People closed the doors of their houses and sat down. The church bell began to ring automatically. Sharon plucked up the courage and looked out the window. Shadows were moving in the fog near the cemetery. They were human, but their bodies were broken, covered in soil. Their eyes were red and shiny. They were slowly moving towards the town. Sharon picked up the camera and started recording. All this should be documented, she told herself. When she came out, the ground was still. The rain had stopped, but there were mud marks on the path, as if dozens of people had walked barefoot. She walked towards the cemetery. Silence everywhere. Only the sound of light breathing could be heard from near a grave. She bent down slowly. The graves were indeed empty, but one coffin was still slightly closed. She lifted the lid. Inside lay her father, but his eyes were open. "Why did you come back, Sharon?" The words rang like poison in her ears. Sharon backed away, but the body inside the coffin began to move. She screamed and ran, but she stopped near the cemetery door because she was not alone. Hundreds of graves were open, and people filled with dirt were slowly emerging from them. Some had broken arms, some had lost their eyes, but everyone had the same smile on their faces. "We are back." Their voices echoed in the air. Sharon picked up her camera and started running, screaming, "I will record all this and show it to the world." But when she got to her house, the door was locked. Someone inside had locked it, and someone inside said, "Why are you out, Sharon? You're dead." She remained silent. She dropped her camera. She gently put her hand to her cheek, cold, wet, and covered in blood. The next morning, the police found her camera near the cemetery gate. The last thing she saw in the recording was red drops starting to fall from the sky again, and a sound comes in the background as the red rain falls. The dead breathe. No one is buried in the Dawson Valley Cemetery anymore, because each new grave automatically empties itself after a few days. If this story has made you shiver, subscribe to Cursed Narratives now, because the next story is even more terrifying.